The video game industry moves fast, but we move faster. This is the Turbo Button Show with Darien and Jacob.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Turbo Button Show for... keep on forgetting my watch. It's May 24th, 2017.
Why'd you even look at your watch if you knew?
Because it's a reflex.
Okay.
Just like the thing about the shop at the end. It's a reflex.
Please don't do that.
I'm giving him his flashbacks.
It's becoming PTSD, dude. Anyways.
Only if you knew.
So I think we can firmly say that news sucked today.
Yeah, news sucked.
And it will probably suck for a while.
Until like the middle of next month.
Yep, because E3 is right around the corner and everyone's saving their juicy news stories till then.
Yep.
That
I like
being
the
said,
juicy stuff.
There are occasions where companies like to jump the gun and get their news out before E3 so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. Like Ubisoft announced Far Cry 5 a couple days ago, which takes place in Montana.
I mean, we don't get that many game settings in that place.
No, that's kind of neat. Like,
yeah.
It's definitely not what you'd expect. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a grade A super quality story, and definitely not something we pulled out of nowhere because there was absolutely nothing to talk about.
Basically just looked at the eShop on Nintendo Switch, just was like, okay. But it raises an interesting point where we're going to be talking about its file size and kind of just...
What's its? You never
ARMS.
said... Yeah.
ARMS. Yeah, it's coming out next month on the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
So it's June 16th.
Yes.
2017 when ARMS comes out.
That is correct.
I may not be alive to the world on that day. We'll see. But
everyone in our office is incredibly hyped for ARMS except for me. And it's not because I don't like it, but I don't own a Switch, so I'm like not that invested in it right now.
But you still are kind of interested.
I still think it's interesting.
Yeah. And okay, so we have AAA developers. Like you look at like Sony, and you look at like
Bungie,
Rockstar, all of them. They're AAA games on current gen consoles, even last gens. Their games were like in the range of being like 16 gigs at the minimum and becoming like 70 to 80 gigabytes at like the threshold of like the high, and it's like the average is 40 gigs.
And let's not forget classic titles like Halo 5, which with all of its installs was over 60 gigs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Doom, which is 75 gigs on my PS4's hard drive right now.
Nuts, dude.
I'm like, that beat Grand Theft Auto 5? Just how? I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 is getting almost to 70 gigs. But it's like, wow, like, holy crap. People who want to buy these digitally, or even if you're like playing it on a PC or even on PS4 and Xbox One, you have mandatory installs.
Yes.
So that's eating away at precious disk space. Oof. Almost had to slip of the tongue right there. But with Nintendo Switch, it has 32 gigs of internal memory.
Yes, only, which I've criticized a couple of times. Just a few.
But you can supplement it with micro SD cards that don't even exist yet of 2 terabytes.
Though right now,
256 is like max, but
yeah,
500s
most people
are
are
on
going
the
for 64s or so.
200s are pretty good too. But I mean, 500s are on the horizon, which are looking really exciting because I would definitely put a 500 in a Nintendo Switch because that would be cool.
But even then, you're approaching 530 gigabytes at most using cutting edge technology. When your competitors, the Xbox One and the PS4, are all abandoning 500 gigs and saying 1 terabyte's the minimum.
Yeah, we're seeing 2 terabyte models like coming out and that kind of thing.
And then you have got, not to toot that horn again, but on PC, there is no limit. My personal rig, I'm up to 3-4 terabytes, you know? You can do whatever you want. So the Switch is kind of limited with that, but what we're talking about here is Nintendo's getting around that in one thing is saving them from utter destruction like they had with the 8 gig model of the Wii U, where you couldn't install anything on it.
Yeah, even the 32 gig one suffers really bad too.
Yes. And that's discs, not disk necessarily, because they're not discs anymore, and it's not a hard disk, but your storage space for your games is surprisingly low.
Yeah, 32 gigs is the max right now for the Switch cartridges. Kind of. Like there's going to be larger ones available in the future. It usually happens.
I think pretty much always when you've had a cartridge-based format, they've been expanded.
Yeah, but 32 gigs is basically like the single-layer Blu-ray disc, which...
It's actually a little over.
Yeah.
Because a single-layer Blu-ray is 25 gigs. But you're looking at like a layer and a half.
Yeah, but Nintendo, if we look at Nintendo always, they've always been about that small disk space. Always about the small file sizes and optimizations, especially early on when memory is a lot more expensive for the system because they haven't really ramped up production and met their ends.
So in short, they're squeezing quite large or quite impressive games into really small sizes.
Yeah, we have ARMS being 2.2 gigabytes.
I've got phone applications bigger than that.
Like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was 6.2 gigs at launch.
And that's a pretty big game.
And the Wii U version actually is quite larger. I don't know the exact number, but the DLC was close to 3 gigs by itself. So I'm seeing a lot of this Nintendo Switch not having 32 gigs or having the 32 gigs, not as a weak point, but I think that
it's still a weak point.
It is a weak point. But I think that them picking out the Tegra for the Nintendo Switch was one of the best things they could have ever done.
So Darien and I have been discussing this and theorizing how they're able to get away with this. And there are really only two things that came to mind. One, the fact that the Switch is running on ARM could affect that with its stacks and
incredibly
really complicated tech stuff.
Yeah, really impressive, incredibly powerful ARM chip, one of the most powerful ones on the market.
And the only other thing I can think of is Nintendo tends to go with less detailed textures, especially recently, and focusing more on more vibrant or technologically advanced lighting to compensate.
Right.
Which lighting does not take up space, it takes up CPU power.
Yeah, it's just little numbers. Like, you can make lighting within like the constraints of like a kilobyte file.
And most of their games are very either cell shaded or very flat colors, so you don't need super high resolution textures.
Yeah, they get away with a lot of technical trickery. I mean, with Breath of the Wild being around 13 gigs, that's still really impressive with the size of that world.
Now, what I'd really like to see is if we ever actually get Skyrim on the Switch, which I've been from the beginning saying I don't think it'll happen, and if it does, it'll be a GIMP port that no one will care about. But I'd love to compare the disk space if it actually materializes.
What do you mean?
The Switch version. I still, even at this point, think it could be canceled.
I'm on the thing where it's just like I don't care about it. I mean, you can go to GameStop, pick up the PS3 version for like $3.
Well, really, all we need is any good, solid AAA game that's multi-platform to compare. Great example. It's been rumored that we might get Dark Souls 3.
Right.
On the Switch. That would be a great comparison title.
We already have Lego City Undercover on the 3 consoles and PC. And the Switch version holds up very, 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 very well compared to the 2, but it is a Wii U port, so...
Yeah, that's the trick. We need something fresh, not just, a new coat of paint from the Wii U.
We got NBA Playgrounds.
Isn't that exclusive?
No, it's Switch, Xbox One, PS4, PC.
Well, no one cares about it.
The Switch version is a little bit gimped down. We have a game called Thumper, which is some weird, crappy-sounding...
It's funny because... The Wii U got a ton of AAA ports from other consoles, and they didn't do anything. Now we've gotten virtually none, and that's the thing we're talking about wanting to see.
Right.
Isn't that ironic?
I want to see multi-platform games, but I think that when the Wii U came out, they were kind of in the ballpark of being like, okay, the Wii got a bunch of multi-plat games with Xbox 360 and PS3.
Not that many, but some, yeah.
It got a lot of the big franchises, like your Call of Duty, your Need for Speeds.
If they did, they were mostly gimped ports, but I think part of it was they used the Wii U's launch. We are getting way off topic, but who cares? They used the Wii U's launch to, get those people who only had a Wii some of the series that they missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
It did not work, obviously.
Plus, it launched during a time period where the Xbox 360 and PS3 are on their last leg. The PS4 and Xbox One weren't launched yet.
It was another year, but
like they were just like, look at the shinier versions of your Xbox 360 and PS3 games.
It's funny because actually, like some of them ran worse than the 360 versions they were ported from.
Or it was one of the cases where Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Sounds right.
Yeah, that one was like the Wii U version was the definitive version of the game, and that game.
Whereas like the Batman Arkham games perform horrendously on the Wii U.
And then they released a patch that made them go.
So we're way off topic, but ARMS is 2 gigabytes. That's our main focus, and
like it's a game crafted from the ground up. It's an arena-based game, so yeah, we don't need that much space for each arena. It's not a big open-world game. It doesn't have big tracks in it like Mario Kart.
To put that into perspective, you could fit that entire game on 2 GameCube discs.
Jeez.
With quite a bit of space left over, because I think they were like 1.5 gigs each.
They were like 1.32 or
something like that. That's enough to hold 2 GameCube discs are enough to hold it.
So just port it to GameCube. It wouldn't run very well.
Yep.
Then
Good
you just play ARMS on your GameCube at like 3 frames per second.
Good plan.
But it's pretty impressive that we get 2.2 gigs out of a AAA title that looks like it's going to be very promising.
Now, disclaimer, that is its starting size.
Yeah, it's going to get updates. It's starting with 10 fighters, 10 arenas, quite a few game modes.
Which is considerably more than Splatoon had at launch.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting to see like another, like I think I saw Splatoon's size and it's pretty small, but I don't want to say it's finalized yet because, that's 2 months out still. So 2, like closer to 1.
And once again, that will have DLC and whatnot. So don't look at your Switch's internal storage with only like 2.2 gigs of space left and say, I'm going to download ARMS.
Like
there will be more that you won't be able to fit.
I personally have like 10 gigs left over, but probably by the time Splatoon comes out, I'm going to have a micro SD card in that thing.
256 gig?
Probably. I can't go with anything lower.
All right. Well, that was this episode. Very rambly, very weird, because our topic really did not have very many points, but that's okay.
It's kind of cool to look at technology and how it kind of just goes and where we're at today.
Comment below if you think that the Switch still needs a space upgrade, or if you think it's fine, whatever. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to actually buy ARMS, and if you are, if it's going to be digital or physical.
We should get external hard drives. Holy crap. Like, somehow Nintendo needs to make it work.
What about just having the dock have a hard drive in it?
Yeah, or the dock just being able to hook it up. Like,
so, okay. Like this video. Subscribe before we keep rambling on for another 10 minutes. Okay. You guys can go to www.gamingbuzz.com/shop.
So you're not naked?
No. You're a weirdo.
No, I'm not.
Why do I work with you?
Because you're my friend.
What's wrong with me?
I don't know. You're the one who approached me.
Goodbye. I'm just leaving it at that. You see what I have to put up with?
Woohoo.
New episodes and other content can be found on TurboButtonShow.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.